Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of What Do We Do Now? A conversation about the live events industry. Today, I have some very exciting guests on the line, and we're going to have a conversation about show calling. So, welcome to everybody. Emma, you're sort of the first person up at the top left, so why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a bit.
Hello, I'm Emma Bingham, show caller, and been in the industry for about 27 years. Trained at the Bristol Vic Theatre School and
Fabulous.
then on.
Marvelous. Tracy, and say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get your start in the live events industry?
Hello, I'm Tracy. I trained as a stage manager and worked as a stage manager in quite often in opera and ballet with Sue Banner, in fact, so in music. And then did that, worked in the West End, then sold my soul to the corporate dollar. So I've been doing corporate and big live events for 25, maybe 30, Christ, years.
Thank you, Tracy. And Lisa, say hello.
Hi, my name's Lisa. I started in the live events industry back in 2006 as a runner on site and then never left, really. And I'm still here, but now as a show caller, which I much prefer.
Fabulous. And Sue, thank you for joining us. How did you get your start? Somewhere with Tracy in the
Same as
distant.
Tracy, yes.
Yeah.
I went to drama school to learn to be a stage manager, worked in the theatre, ended up in the world of opera because of my score reading, met Tracy, did a little bit in the West End. Somebody told me I could earn more money doing corporate events, and somebody gave me a chance, and I thought it was a bit weird. But then I realised I got it, so I've just stayed with that, and now I'm a patron of the arts, and I get my money from the corporate world.
Oh, good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
That's really
And
neat.
Max, introduce yourself. How did you get your start?
Hello, Maxine Kenny, also show caller. Pretty much the same as Tracy, Sue, and Emma. I trained as a theatre stage manager, worked in theatre for quite a lot of years, and made my move over into corporate 20-something years ago. As I became pregnant and realised that I couldn't carry on making a living being a stage manager and being a mom at the same time, my move came over through Di Fable, who's another show caller, and all of my first work came from there because I lived in Bristol at the time. That's
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's one of my questions I've been asking everybody is what was your favorite job and why? Who wants to go first?
That's a difficult one, isn't it? I thought about this actually, and I think mine would be the national, I wrote this down actually, national commemoration of the Battle of Jutland.
Right, that's very
And
specific.
that was, I think, because of the location in the Orkney Islands. I was given the island of Hoy, the war cemetery there. It was a high-profile event. There were politicians and royalty from both Germany and the UK. The logistics of that were, trying to put it mildly, one ferry a day to our island, and we had to build, a grandstand, a stage. We had to sort out security, and we had to call a show that included not just brass bands and politicians, but also naval battleships. So
Amazing.
my
That
favourite
sounds
cue was
absolutely
"Stand
incredible.
by guns, guns go." But I think it just incorporated a lot of, it was quite a trying setup, but it worked, and I think it was the profile and everything, and it was being live streamed, so there was a lot of pressure to get it right, but it was an exciting job. Yeah, very exciting.
Very cool. Tracy, how about you?
Oh, kind of just that reminded me, yeah, because I did the Mons centenary and also the Battle of the Somme centenary, and for the sort of emotional impact, you think, oh, I'm a hardened old show caller, but when we were doing the Somme, because of where we were at Chepful, and it was the BBC, so there's all that crossover between live and telly, and the 2 minute silence, I was just in floods of tears, and I was trying to say to these presenters, oh no, don't worry, you'll be fine, and there was me weeping, so that was an emotional one. And then I think I've done quite a few of the big royally, like the Queen's 90th will sort of go down for me as a great one, because it was just chaos, you know, because it's performers and horses, and the horsey people concentrate on the horses, you know, they call the talent, you know, they do call them the talent or your lovies, you know. So for them, horses are important. For everybody else, you know, it's the whole big, I felt like Henry Kissinger actually, because it was TV, horses and performers and live, and quite a lot of pressure.
Brilliant.
And you can't, you don't know what's going to happen with cattle, horses, you know.
No, yeah.
That's really, you know, thinking on your feet, and I quite enjoy that, you know, the buzz of
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
How about you, Lisa?
I would class this as my most fun event. I was actually video producer on this, and it was in Zambia about 2009. And it was my first taste of Africa. And I think I just loved everything that I saw, everything that we produced. It was just a really fun and exciting place to be. And we had a great crew on it until I got cellulitis and suffered with severe hallucinations and had to be flown home. But that's
Oh my word. Wow. So very, very memorable in that case.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Sue, how about you?
Well, I'd say the same as Emma and Trace, actually, that, you know, those big state events are amazing because you've got loads of toys to play with. You know, we love a fighter jet or some parachutists or that kind of thing. But so I really loved, what was the one down the Mall?
Oh, Sue, it was the Queen's, we did it together, the Queen's Golden Jubilee.
Yeah, Brian May on the roof.
Yeah, that was fun.
Great. And the men who lit the beacon, when I said, how does this work down the canvas? And they went, well, have you got a gas oven? And I said, yes, I have. They went, well, on the standby, we turn the pilot light on. And when you say go, we turn it up. But apart from that, I also really love, actually, in retrospect, not at the time, doing those massive tech shows. You know, I think, Dave, you and I might have been on a big one in the Moscone in LA, you know, where there's like 17 repeater screens and it's all massive and it's lots of switching and complicated demos. It's a nightmare at the time, but afterwards, I think the satisfaction is amazing. And also because those kind of people always have some kind of act on as well, so you get to see someone quite famous for a bit of relief in the evening, even though it makes your day 16 hours long. So, yeah.
Fantastic. How about you, Max?
Yeah, I really don't think I've got a one single favourite. I love a car show. I love a car launch with all of the bits and pieces and bells and whistles that go along with that. And usually there's a lot of money behind it, and it's a technically complicated show, and it's more like a big theatre spectacular rather than a little conference. But then I've really, really enjoyed the some of the shows that are on a wing and a prayer, like big African jobs. I do have regularly done a job out in Africa that is an award ceremony, a conference, and then a big concert as well over 3 days. And bending your skills with a little bit of wire is what I've really enjoyed very much. And you could be doing anything, absolutely anything on those jobs, and I love them. And I also really, really enjoy the jobs where you're in an incredibly privileged situation where you hear some very high-end speakers, I suppose is the best way, and you get an insight into a completely different world or a very different sense of being, or something that has taken something forward, and you feel incredibly privileged to be there and part of that at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's the travel. It's very exciting, the different places, the scale of these things, and sadly, with the current situation, an awful lot of that, certainly in the short term, has changed. Someone might have to go and check the door. It makes the point I was about to make really, really well, but now we have to do it from our homes, and everybody's working in this kind of decentralized fashion. Kind of what we wanted to talk about here was, I guess, some of the learnings, some of the experiences you've been through in the past few weeks. So Max, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about one of these virtual events that you worked on, and a little bit about, I guess, how that all worked and how it came together.
It was a little bit of a surprise to start off with, and again, bending your brain and your skills and your core knowledge to adapt to a completely different working environment. I had to learn very quickly to get around the technology. I had to learn very quickly how to communicate in a different manner.
What was it in particular about the communication, I guess, that was different? Normally, I suppose you're backstage or you're in the auditorium, you can see where everyone is. Well, how does that change, I suppose, the nature of some of the communication you're doing?
I think the base nature of a show caller is that you have to work out very quickly all of the different skills from all of the different contributors that you have usually within a conference, and you do that by face-to-face, small conversation, a side conversation, and doing that in a virtual world, you have to ask leading questions to get the information back that you want without sounding like you're questioning their abilities, and that goes with everybody involved, including speakers. You have to be very careful not to criticize their home technical abilities, their family situation, what they're bringing into the conference as well, their preparedness. It became very evident that some people took it incredibly seriously. This was part of their job. This was what the message that they had to communicate. And some of them, it was just slotting in next to Joe Wicks as far as they were concerned with the rest of the family. So
yeah, and I think being really sensitive to that is really key. I think we were talking with Cookie yesterday on some of the lighting stuff, and he'd put a lighting system into a presenter's home, and I think just being sensitive to how willing they are to engage with the process, because when they're in their own home on their own turf, it's quite hard to get them to behave sort of anyway differently, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And also your personal discipline more than anything else, and learning incredibly quickly and getting together everything very quickly. And
what did you have to get together? Give me an example of that. Like, what sort of things do you mean?
A wireless charger for my phone, because you're on the phone all the time. I don't have a landline anymore. Ethernet adapters, USB-C Ethernet adapter, and a hub, and headphones, and a way of communicating. Stealing other people's equipment. When we were talking earlier, Emma was talking about stealing her son's laptop, which is quite true. I mean, I had my laptop, an iPad, my phone, and stealing the household iPad as well, so that I could have, my own personal multi-view cobbled together for it was like conference beta style.
Yeah. Lisa shared this photo with me from a job a couple of weeks ago, just in terms of her setup in her home, and you kind of have to tell us a bit about that, Lisa. Like, how did you kind of work out where you were going to put yourself in your house, and like, how did you arrive at that?
Well, the most important thing was hugging the router. I have an office upstairs, but the router is downstairs in the dining room. So I literally just shifted all of my desk down here. And it's a massive desk, which was lovely because I'm not used to so much space on site. So I stole my husband's Mac, and fortunately he has all the adapters because he's in this game too. And my laptop had my digital technical running order, but I also ran Unity off my laptop because I wanted to be hardwired in.
And just to talk about Unity a tiny bit there, that's the Unity intercoms is a cloud comms system, which Max, you said you used something different, didn't you, on your one? But I think Lisa and Bing, it was Unity on both of your shows.
It was, yeah. We used Unity, yeah.
Cool. And how did you find that kind of comm system, or how did you find doing the comms thing in this in a different way?
I felt very secure, very stable, and I had the most confidence in that system because we were lucky enough to have a comms guy who could log into my computer basically wirelessly or virtually or however we did it, and tweaked all the settings, which was really helpful. But also I had a Stream Deck, which was an ancillary item that I ordered last minute from Amazon, because I had to speak to the presenter, I had to speak to the producer, I had to speak to the show crew, and just having that extra piece of kit gave me a bit more confidence in using a system that I didn't really know much about.
And just to, I guess, just to expand on that a tiny bit there, Lisa, Stream Deck is a little kind of, it's a little keyboard, but you can program the keys. So you get different sized Stream Decks, but it's a little USB keyboard, so it just allows you to set up your own special kind of hotkeys to do certain things. So in your context, Lisa, it was you were switching onto different comms channels using that Stream Deck.
But it was another piece of kit. So I had my laptop, I had the Stream Deck, I had my preview on the Mac, and my phone with WhatsApp going. So, and then paper copies of things in front of me. So I felt like I was hot stepping between lots of things. And I think,
Lisa, did you have paper copies of a script or the slides, or was that all on your laptop?
I was very lucky that the script writer did me a PowerPoint version of the script. So it was basically just the beginning of every sentence that the presenter was going to say, and then he put in like full screen graphics, and then I just used that as my show book as such. But I created a very detailed technical running order for the vision guy, so he had item numbers to refer to. So I was working between two documents, but I went to paper. It was on my machine virtually, but having it in paper in front of me just allowed me to constantly be 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
How about you? Sorry, go on, Tracy.
I was going to say, but in the world of conferences where there's constant changes, up until, all the time, so were they changing things, or was it set?
No, and I think this is the beauty of the virtual world, is that stuff has to be locked down. You can't make a last minute change. Yeah, so there is a benefit, and it did work. So I had a day programming with the producer where we talked through the show. So I got a really good detailed technical running order out of that. And then after our tech rehearsals the next day, there were only a few tweaks, but my item numbers remain the same. I just beefed up the content, mainly to help me and John, the vision guy, to help build the show. And that was as simple as it was. I mean, it was a long running order. It was an hour show, and I think the running order was like 10 pages. And I know the crew would be like, oh my God, I'm not interested. But actually, it was the first time I've written that document, and they really needed it.
Yeah, sure.
How about you, Emma? How about it's really weird for me calling you Emma. I normally call you Bing. But
Yeah,
sorry,
I was like, who's
how was
Emma?
your experience?
Who's Emma? Where's Bing Bong gone? I think we had a few more changes, actually. It wasn't when you went hooray, I went, I'm going to rain on your parade a little bit there. So all the setup exactly the same. I think Lisa and I had the same setup. So you had it, as we said, multi-view. I did, I think the running order became much more important than you think. When you're on site, crew will refer to it, then, we'll listen to the show call. Some of them just throw them away. But I found that John really, that running order had to be very accurate, because in my case, he was doing quite a bit. He was vision mixing and cueing the slides. So he didn't really have enough time. So I think I wrote the running order slightly differently. It was the vision column was much more detailed. And I think it is quite good to really talk to the vision mixer about how it works best for them, how they like to see it. So at the end of our show, I think as John does a lot of television, if I was to work with him again, I might use colour. So graphics is green, video, that's how he works in TV. So it's kind of adapting. I think all of us have a standard way of doing a running order, but then talk to your vision mix and say, does this work for you? Can you refer to it quickly? Item numbers became hugely important. Sometimes John would say, what item are we on? And you'd have to say 4, 5, 6, so that he could. So the running order for John was very, very important. I did work off a show book. So we were given a script, which I have to say changed a lot, which we're all used to. But I kind of marked it up really in a very traditional way. But I think the way I cued it was very much, also there's no lighting, sound, didn't call that so much because obvious who was where, but it was very much a vision you were calling for the vision mixer largely. I don't know if you found that, Liz, but I did. And then into that mix, into that show book, I had lots of standbys for presenters. As you would a satellite link up, maybe. I just definitely marked down in the show book, heads up for.
How did it work with kind of stage management and that? If I start with Lisa again. On your side, Lisa, like you had a couple of stage managers, and what was sort of their role, and how did that work and play in with your role remotely?
Yeah, we were really lucky that we had a couple of stage managers. One in particular looked after the presenters, of which there were 4 presenters and 1 host. So I had direct communication with the host on Unity, and then the stage manager had I think it was a Google Meet conference call where she was on that with those 4 presenters, and then she would feed back into me, which worked. But I know it was difficult for her because she's on 2 calls basically. But it took the pressure off me not to have to deal with those 4 panelists. So it just gave me a bit more leeway to think ahead a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think that kind of stage management, floor manager type of role, they're the one that are on the phone to the presenter when they've gone off camera, to go to the loo or to sort out their kids, to try and, shepherd them back on, and also to build up a rapport with them, just to make sure that you don't lose them throughout the day and through the rehearsals and the texts, etc. Sorry, Trace.
I was going to say, if this is, how long, I mean, who knows how long until we can do live events, however long that could be. So if this is, presumably what's going to happen, and until we all get au fait with the technology, then presumably production companies or agencies will have to give you, Emma and Lisa, presumably you got a day of sort of wrapping your head around the technology and a day of rehearsals.
Yeah, I think that was quite important.
Yeah,
I think we had a kind of a technical rehearsal.
Get on with it,
No, I think we had a technical rehearsal. And I don't know, Lisa, if you had this, but we had a day where it was exclusively for us, so that we could work out that we could hear each other, we could test the technology, we could work out a strategy about how we were going to do this. We could test, in my case, comms were, a bit like Lisa, there's one channel for the host, one channel, and we could test all of that with a stage manager so that you were totally comfortable before you went into rehearsals the following day when you added presenters into the mix. And I thought that worked very, very well, so that you felt comfortable, that you understood how it was going to work before you added presenters into the mix for their rehearsals. I thought that was a very useful thing to do.
Because you want to be the one who's going,
Yes. And I think also, I don't know what you felt, Max and you, Lisa, but my biggest fear was that I was going to be the one to let everybody down. My Virgin Media would, so I was constantly doing speed tests for my internet connection a week before we started this technical rehearsal, because what you don't want as a show call is to be the weak link. You want to be the one that everybody can rely on. My internet is solid, and and I was going crazy thinking I need to get fiber optics in here. I need to sort of, I need to be the solid. I can't be the weak link in this. But I think the technical, so that worked very well, so that you have time to connect everything, you have time to test everything, so that when you go into rehearsals as a show call, you feel very comfortable.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you're trying to work out a new way of working, and actually you can't just turn up at a tech and expect everything to be the same as normal. There's kind of that pre-tech element that needs to be gone through with the wider production team, really, because everyone is in that same boat. Everyone is working out their new workflow, their new way of doing it, working out their new backup scenarios, whether it's backups for internet, or whether it's backup for pieces of equipment. So it's quite a busy time for an awful lot of people, and amazing that you guys were able to pull it together in this way. We're starting to run out of time, but I love this conversation. It's fantastic. Sue, do you have any questions about what you've heard so far from any of the others?
Loads, because I can't imagine how it would be. What I was just thinking just then is, so we're all at home in your dining room calling these shows, and the presenters, are they in their offices at work, or are they also at home? Because I have seen people are trying to create kind of virtual sets, aren't they, to bring people in. So you haven't done anything like that?
Yes, I think, I mean, some are at home, and what I think what happened in our case, I don't know about you, Lisa, that a whole package was sent to them. So they were given, you know, a webcam, they were given headphones, sometimes they were given a very basic lighting rig, sometimes, you know, in our case, they were given ideas about backgrounds. So backgrounds became quite important. We had, because internet was bad in one presenter's house, she had to go to her office. That has a whole other problem, because sometimes, you know, you can't get through the office firewall. One lady tried to do it in a hotel room, and so it's kind of, you know, managing all those different locations, and it was all, I think, led by the internet connection and the did you think, Max?
Yeah,
I think that's the thing.
Very little that you can do to give them that confidence and to help them. And we had 2 speakers that during our rehearsal process, their internet was dropping out all of the time. You know, we did everything that we possibly could to advise with the equipment that they had, and in the end, it worked. It was absolutely fine. But we had them on just a dial-up landline backup, rather than, you know, there to switch immediately if their internet went down.
Yeah, that's what we had as well. There was like a sort of, you know, we had the graphics of their face and a phone line as backup. Absolutely.
See, Max, if you were the CEO of a company delivering some really important message to me, I don't know whether I could take you seriously with Kermit sitting on your head. or whether, oh, she's really real. She's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
But he is serious.
But I think that brings it down to, you know, the real person, doesn't it? Because, you know, we're so used to seeing people against a, you know, a backdrop or on a stage, you know, so seeing somebody in their sitting room, you know, it's a bit of a leveler, isn't it? You know,
actually, the funny thing
it's
is,
authentic
it's a
as
very
well,
good
right?
point,
It's authentic.
Tracy, because actually, I did have to think about that, and I spoke to my producer and saying, right, will they see me? Won't they see me? And if they do see me, do you need?
Somebody holding a sheet behind me.
I don't know. I think who we are is part of what we do. And it is a whole career that it's not personality led, but your spirit and who you are as a person goes along with what you do as a job.
Yeah.
And if you can't communicate that, then you don't really get employed. So Kermit is part of my personality.
Yeah, he's in there.
Guys, thank you very much. Max, that's an absolutely amazing point just to finish for today. I think we could easily have carried on for much, much longer. But yeah, just to say thank you very much for joining, and say goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'd love to hear from different people across the industry, so please get in touch if you'd like to join one of these conversations. They can be a lot of fun, so please just drop me a note, and stay safe. Speak again soon.